Okay, and the last part of the lesson looks at interval notation. And interval notation just looks at a different way of writing restrictions on the lower and higher bounds whenever you're looking at numbers. So the features of a graph are often described in relation to real number values. Sets of real numbers may be described in one of three ways: inequalities, interval notation, or graphically using a number line. So you've seen inequalities before, so this just says -2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 3. In interval notation, that exact statement is written as x is an element of square bracket -2 comma 3 round bracket. So what you'll notice here is that the starting endpoint and the ending endpoint are listed here. So the starting point's at -2, the ending point is at 3, and the brackets here, we're going to talk a little bit about why one's a square bracket and one's a round bracket. Graphically, when you draw this on a number line, you start at -2 and you end at 3. And you'll notice that one side is shaded in and one side's an open circle. And the reason why this one's shaded in is because -2 is included in your range of numbers, whereas 3 is not included in your range of numbers. So when you are writing these restrictions in interval notation, round brackets indicate that the end value is not included in the interval. So that's why you have round brackets here. 3 is not actually included in the interval. Anything before 3 is, but 3 itself is not included. Square brackets, on the other hand, indicate that the end value is included. So you'll notice that there's a square bracket here because -2 is included in the interval of values that you're looking at. Round brackets are also used for infinity and negative infinity since they are not defined values. So whenever you're including infinity as one of your end values, you use round brackets, and that's because infinity means without bounds. So there's no restriction on the value there. Okay. So for our last example, we're going to look at how to rewrite whether it's in whether it's in an inequality form or a graphical form. Sorry about that. And we're going to look at how to write each of the ranges in interval notation. So starting with the first one, we have -5 is less than x, which is less than 2. So because -5 and 2 are my two intervals, I'll start by writing those first. So -5 comma 2. And now it's just a matter of figuring out whether you'll have a round bracket or a square bracket. So because -5 is not included, it's a round bracket. And because 2 is not included, it's a round bracket as well. So in interval notation, I have x is an element of -5 to 2. For the next one, all I have is x is greater than or equal to 4. So this one's a little bit different. So what this tells me is that my starting point is at 4 and every other value that I have is higher than 4. So my starting point is 4 and all my other values are higher than that. Well, what that means is 4 is my starting point and it continues on forever. So what it's ending at is positive infinity. It's continuing until positive infinity. Now in terms of my brackets, because I'm starting at 4 and 4 is included, I use a square bracket. And because I'm ending towards positive infinity, I use round brackets because I don't actually know what the end point is. Okay? And for the last example, we have a starting point and an ending point. So I'll start by writing x is an element of, and my starting point is at 3. My ending point is at 9. Okay, so 3 comma 9 starts at 3, ends at 9. But because 3 is not included, I use a round bracket, and because 9 is included, I use a square bracket. And that's how you rewrite from inequality form or graphical form into interval notation form.